Hello, welcome to the Material and Resource Efficiency module in this Sustainable Building training series. In this video, you will learn about the importance of considering impacts across the full life cycle of materials used in building projects and ways you can reduce those impacts. Decisions made early in the building design and construction process permanently affect the overall environmental impact of the building, so reviewing your material choices as early as possible in the project is crucial. First, let's talk about a material's life cycle. Material life cycle refers to the stages material products go through from creation to disposal or reuse. It encompasses extraction of raw natural resources to create products, the production of finished products, packaging, transport, and distribution of the products, on-site use of the products, and then finally, disposal, reuse, or end-of-life management. Materials during their life cycle have three major impacts. First, material production is a significant source of greenhouse gas emissions that contribute to climate change. According to the International Energy Agency, about 37% of global CO2 emissions come from industry, of which an estimated 67% result from material production. Second, current production of materials is outpacing the regeneration of natural resources used in their creation, creating an unsustainable situation. Raw materials will run out if we continue on with business as usual. And finally, material production is creating growing impacts on the environment, including water pollution that affects fish and other water-based life, including us humans, solid waste generation that takes up land and pollutes local ecosystems, reduction of biodiversity, and air pollution that affects all life.
The linear flow of a material life cycle just discussed is problematic, especially for products made from non-renewable resources that will eventually run out. For all materials, we need to rethink our system from the merely linear system to circular system, in which materials are maintained, shared, reused, and recycled to reduce extraction rates and waste production. The Ellen MacArthur Foundation has estimated moving to a circular economy could reduce the global CO2 emissions from building materials by 38% by 2050.
As someone involved in the design and construction of a building, what can we do to reduce the impacts of our material choices? There are 4 things you can start doing today. Number 1, ask your team to provide a whole building life cycle assessment. Life cycle assessments, LCAs, and life cycle inventories, LCIs, are methods of investigating, quantifying, and documenting the environmental impacts of a product for each stage in the life cycle. A whole building LCA looks at all the materials planned for use in that building to give you, the client, the ability to understand the impacts of the materials chosen for that building on the environment, determine if there are impacts that can be mitigated or replaced, and communicate about your decisions. Ask questions such as, can we reduce the amount of materials used by reducing the size of a feature? Can we tweak the design to eliminate the need for a specialty material? And what will happen to these materials after they are used in this building? A third-party verified, consistent documentation format for LCA results is called an Environmental Product Declaration, or EPD. EPDs are available for many products used in building design and construction, though not for all. There are also industry standards for some products. EPDs make it easier to compare the environmental impacts of the same product across various manufacturers or producers in all the life cycle stages. Specifically for embodied carbon, which was described in a previous video in this series, there is a tool available to compare the carbon emitted during the production of various products, called the Embodied Carbon in Construction Calculator, or EC3. Number 2, work with your project team to identify materials that can be substituted for lower impact materials and engage with your material providers to understand alternatives to standard materials. For example, look for recycled steel providers. Check with your concrete provider to see if they have a low emissions alternative, and work with your interior design team to find reused, recycled, or environmentally friendly alternatives for interior finishes and products. To find reuse options, check out the DEP's listing of salvaged materials outlets and stores. And if recycled or reused products are not available, look for products that can be repaired or will have the longevity to be used on the next project. Looking for materials that are certified by a third-party rating system, such as Cradle to Cradle, is one way to ensure materials are manufactured in an environmentally conscious way. The Cradle to Cradle website is listed at the end of the video in resources. As a side note, this can also include hazardous materials. Apart from staying up to date with hazardous material compliance and standards, and ensuring hazardous materials are marked, also look for non-hazardous materials whenever possible. For more information on the importance of this for indoor air quality, see the IEQ video.
3. Recycle construction and demolition waste. Recycling is a series of activities that includes collecting used, reused, or unused items that would otherwise be considered waste, sorting and processing the recyclable products into raw materials, and remanufacturing the recycled raw materials into new products. In Pennsylvania, construction and demolition waste make up approximately 17.5% of Pennsylvania's municipal waste stream. To ensure materials from construction and demolition can be recycled, separate out any materials that are able to be recycled in your area so that they stay clean enough to be made into new materials. For construction, renovation and demolition activities, common recyclable materials include cardboard, glass, metals, paper, and plastic. Number 4, after a building is completed and occupants are moved in, it is important to encourage continued material and resource efficiency by occupants during the use phase of the building. This can be done through A. Encouraging energy and water efficiency, both through design and through green leasing options, as discussed in other videos in the series. B. Educating building occupants about the benefits of reducing, reusing, recycling, and composting. C. Supplying information about available reuse options. And D. Supplying easy to understand infrastructure for collecting recyclable and compostable materials. If reuse or compostable infrastructure is not available on site, try to find a local partner for your building occupants.
Let's review what we covered in this video. Number 1, material use during building construction and operation can have 3 major impacts. A. Greenhouse gas emissions. B. Overuse of limited natural resources. And C. Pollution, including water, air, and land pollution. Number 2, the impacts of materials occur at all stages of their life cycle. Number 3, to reduce the impacts of materials, you can A. Require a whole building life cycle assessment of building materials to help you use materials efficiently and select materials with less impact. B. Substitute low-impact materials whenever possible, such as reused or recycled, and work with material suppliers to find better material options. C. Recycle your construction and demolition waste. And D. Encourage material and resource efficiency during building use. 4. Thank you for striving to choose materials that have fewer upstream impacts during production and planning proactively for material reuse and recycling to minimize the significant impacts on Pennsylvania's solid waste generation. This includes making waste plans in both the construction and use phases of our buildings. The good news is that significant efficiencies and reductions of impact are possible, and that by doing so, the building sector can be an important partner in helping society reach its goals to minimize climate impacts and protect environmental and human health.